Yeah, so what the animals will come in again in this narrowing fence, and then we have gates that we can either open one side, open the other, or close the whole area off. So we could either block this off, we can block this off, or we can bring it in and block this.
Block this.
So
yeah.
The idea is we gently push some of the animals this way. Some of them will start to go in here. When we see that enough, if we're bringing them in from this side, then the person manning the gate is behind here. And once we see animals, you know, we've got enough animals in the wooden corral area, we would then close this off and close this off, separating these animals from the main herd. Then we would move the animals that are in here down through this corral area. Now, the bison, these are solid so that the bison aren't trying to push out against, because they'll, very visual animals, so they will, once they're in here, they will tend to move themselves along where they see some open space. The slots on the side here are so that we can either reach through with a long pole or something and just move the animals along. We have this juncture here where we have some slide-in gates, and so like once we push some of the animals then into this space, we can slide through
I see.
gates here, and
Right.
then move a smaller set of animals in here towards the chute. Now this chute door is currently closed, but once they get in here, then the animals would see this would be the opening that they'd see. They'd see some area here, so they would be likely to follow here into one of these areas.
To one of the.
Now,
And then again, you've got slots.
yep. And we have some panels. So if this is an animal we don't need to work, we don't need to take through, then we can release them into either side. If it's an animal we do want to move, then we can bring it in this way. We could that would be open. We move them through into here, and we can shut this behind it. And so these allow us to then slowly separate out individual animals.
Let me move this way a little bit.
So again, we move an animal into here. Again, we have a sliding door here, so we can separate them out. And that's really so that they don't start backing themselves out and backing into other animals. And again, in here, if we get them in and we're not going to move them, we can let them out into either side field. So this allows us to sort the herd, sort them into two different herds, or to split out the harvest animals from the breeding herd, and those sorts of things. Then this narrows down. Okay, this one's popped out. But this narrows down into our squeeze chute. And so from here, again, we can let animals out at this stage. But if we need to medicate the animal, handle the animal, or some other thing, we can bring them in here And this, we close around their neck,
Oh, right.
okay, to help keep the animal
Calm.
safe. And then these actually squeeze in to hold the side of the animal steady so that it can't thrash itself around and injure itself.
Right.
Then these panels allow us to, we drop down these panels from the outside and we can give them an injection, take a weight, give them an ink tattoo for identification purposes, any of those sorts of things that we might need to do. We do have lower panels that can drop if we need to check feet and those sorts of things. But the whole framework then, this allows us to only take down that area that we need to look at and examine, and everything else is keeping the animal steady and from injuring itself. And then when we're done, all we have to do is swing these out and the animal can go forward and out into the field. So any animals we handle have to go out into this side field. And that's so we have to figure out when we're working animals in, we have to plan ahead for, which animals are going to go into which field depending on what kind of handling we need to do. And then we can also, we can back in the stock trailer here. If we have to haul live animals, we can back that in here, put a couple of panels on the side, and then the animals would go from here. We'd release them, and then they can load up into the stock trailer. So, and then this actually allows us
High hog.
to protect people from the head if we need to work.
Work the sides.
Yeah. And so then again, we can sort animals out into this field here, or into this field here when we do a handling.
So there would be a gate
So
that
there
goes
is
here.
yeah, that gate is normally mounted right here.
Right. Okay.
Or we can just let them, mingle if it's not. Generally, we don't do a handling. We don't do a handling for no reason.
Right.
Since we're not in the business of doing annual vaccinations or any of that sort of thing, we don't even have a handling necessarily every year. But at least not at this point. And that's, so then, all of these side gates that we saw when we were walking through, again, they're all managed. This one's tied in. Right now, most of them are tied open, but these are all managed from the outside. So you have somebody managing these gates, and so when it's open, when an animal's moving in, but as soon as it gets in, you close the door behind that animal so that they can't back out. And then they cannot back out back into the next animal. Then you can move them forward in through here with a 2x4 or something. Somebody on the other side maybe. They go forward through this, and then you would do the same thing here. And that way you keep them moving forward without trying to drive them too much. And then when that one's gone all the way through, then we would start with the next animal probably up in here, because the animals would be in this area, mingling. Then we would open this one up. All of the others would already be open, so that the next animal would see a nice clear path to walk into.